The Navy plans to invest more than $1 billion over 10 years to revitalize an old facility, the 19th Century Naval Surface Warfare Center at Indian Head, Maryland. It's where the Navy plans to redo the infrastructure and machinery to produce munitions. We get details from the center's technical director, Ashley Johnson. Mr. Johnson, good to have you with us.
Good morning.
Give us the brief rundown on what happens now at Indian Head. I've actually been there, and it looks a little bit out of the way, you might say.
Yes, it's out of the way. It's been in southern Maryland since 1890, but it is out of the way, probably on purpose to some extent because of the nature of the business. But we have been at the forefront of what the Navy's ability is to produce munitions and energetic materials for well over 100 years. And this evolution is really just the beginning of a remodernization and a sustainment activity for the capability that's been in the Navy for over 100 years.
Right now, a lot of the work is testing of devices. For example, the charges that release ordnance from the bottom of airplane wings, that kind of thing.
Indian Head's a full-spectrum munitions facility. It's classified as the Navy's only public arsenal. So we have activities that range from research and development through manufacturing, engineering, as well as test and evaluation, and even as far as I say, is demilitarization. So when we say a full-spectrum facility, we really do mean in a cradle-to-grave sense.
And you also have a facility to make energetics, the stuff that makes propellants go, in what looks like the world's biggest bread mixer.
Yeah, that's true. Much of what's used in the manufacture of energetic materials was borrowed from the baking industry, and that's based on its simplicity and the ability for us to control what is inherently a pretty dangerous operation with simple equipment. But it's obviously not quite that simple, but there's a lot of similarities. And we have incorporated much of that equipment at very large scale so that we can support production of not only, as you said, the propellants and the explosives, or what I would call more or less intermediate materials, but we can make those materials and then put them into finished assemblies like rocket motors or warheads or other materials for a combat capability.
And tell us about the modernization then. The Navy apparently is committed to Indian Head. What's going to happen over the next 10 years?
Well, right. It's no surprise for those who are looking at the news. You've seen the pressures that have been applied throughout the world, particularly starting with Ukraine and potential adversaries. There is a renewed awareness of the need for conventional ammunitions and the consumption of that ammunition and munitions over a long conflict. So what we have realized in the United States is our munitions industrial base has shrunk over the last 15, 20 to 25 years because of our focus in other areas. And as a result, the pressure that's being put not only on commercial industry, but also on what we call the organic industrial base, or that which is owned by the government, is at a premium. And Indian Head is significant in terms of its capacity. We are a very large part of what we call cast composite manufacturing, which is the modern way of manufacturing rocket motors and warheads and things of that nature. So the Navy, recognizing this, and the Secretariat committing to this idea that it owns an arsenal and it needs to use it in the context of this whole situation, has committed to a 10-year program to essentially sustain and restore and to modernize the entire facility. Indian Head as a site is a site that's worth, replacement value is $5-6 billion, and it would be difficult to duplicate that even if you had that money. So investing in a facility like this is really much more efficient than trying to accomplish it some other way. So the Navy is going to invest first to restore a lot of things that have been taken care of in a way that's forced us to make decisions. So there's some things that we should have been taking care of a little bit better than we have. And so we're going to fix those things to unlock some latent capacity. And then we're going to modernize equipment to get to more state-of-the-art manufacturing methods, as well as just simply increasing capacity in the sense of, multiplying 3 or 4 or 5x times the number of things that we can do. And this will get us down the road. As I said, 10 years it will take to accomplish this. But we will start to get returns on that investment immediately, and then we will sort of reset the clock, if you will, for Indian Head and into the future.
We're speaking with Ashley Johnson. He is the technical director of the Naval Surface Warfare Center at Indian Head, Maryland. And it sounds like then that you will be overseeing the construction of additional buildings or fixing up old ones, and also new equipment, new foundry gear and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's pretty much everything that you might imagine. Some things are very simple, even as simple as paving roads and fixing electrical distribution systems or lighting or steam lines or fire protection systems, which at first blush, that wouldn't be the first things maybe you'd come to mind when you're talking about state-of-the-art munitions. but those are the things that you're required, right, in order to run the factory. And then, at the high end, as you said, there's very specific mixing presses, cutters, things that are directly related to the manufacture of the material, and those need to be modernized and taken advantage of where we can, depart from industrial age technology and moving into information age technology.
I was going to say even basic ordnance today has electronic components in it that it might not have had in the World War II era. So there's...
Absolutely.
Tell us more about what that requires.
Most of the advances, to be honest with you, over the last, let's say, 30 or 40, 50 years since major conflicts, have been in what I would describe as the front end of a lot of these items for missile systems. Guidance and control has been where a lot of advances have been made, and for good reason, with regard to precision and accuracy. But a lot of what we still need or still benefit from and need to improve is the items that are directly related to range, right, to speed, to what we call terminal effects, or what the device does when it gets to its target. We also manage the signature, or how well you can see the device as it's doing its job, as a function of energetic material. So these are the parts that also have to be managed. And frankly, those have been left behind as opposed to some of the investments that have been made, as I said, in this guidance and control or more front-end electronics of the business. So it's a business of making sure that we don't put too much emphasis on one aspect of the munition. It's all got to get better.
And what about the manpower to do this production? It sounds like pretty skilled work, and you've only got about 2,600 people down there. What about the human capital side of it?
It's a challenge for not only us, but also the entire industry. There's a huge swing in these things as you look over the years. In the United States, there used to be 12 tactical rocket motor manufacturers at one point, and now there are only 2. That's commercial. And so the number of individuals that were associated with this in the commercial space as well as the government space, and I do mean from laborers to technicians to engineers to advanced degree folks, the whole number is down. So as an industry, both commercial and government, it's a challenge for us to find folks that have, any experience in this area. We're taking on folks that are knowledgeable, skilled, they have degrees, they have a lot of training, but it does require a significant amount of on-the-job training, as you might expect, to handle something that's as dangerous as what it is that we handle. As I finally said, we don't make toasters here, and that's not an affront to anybody that makes toasters, but the problem is it's dangerous, and we can't afford to make mistakes because it could be a significant risk to mission or risk to our force. And so we take that training very seriously, and it puts a premium on finding individuals that have the skills, but also on the time that it takes us to get them ready to do the job.
Yeah, the toasters are all made in China anyway, so who cares about them? But, you'll have to get more people. You have to increase the workforce and therefore have a way of attracting them to Indian Head, Maryland, which is a beautiful country, by the way, but it's a little out of the way if, relative to, say, the Baltimore, Washington area.
It's funny you say that. It's really an issue of, first, of course, attraction. We don't have a lot of problem, honestly, attracting people. The nature of our business is pretty exciting for lots of reasons. You can be a patriot, you can defend your country, you can be a civil servant, and people are excited about that once they learn what level of impact that they can have. I think the other is the nature of our business is exciting, right? Things that go whoosh and things that go bang and things it's an unusual, it's an off the beaten path. Again, it excites people. The hardest part for us is really the time that it takes to get people to a high level of competence, as I said, this on-the-job training, and the patience that it requires to be there, and then also the retention, right, which speaks to what you said. What does the area look around? People want nice things. People want a nice place to live. They want whatever, their Dunkin' Donuts or Subways or whatever it is that they're looking for close by, and so they look, and then they determine how long they want to stay. And these are really the issues that address how it is that we can maintain a workforce. And that's why we work so hard to partner with local and state governments to make sure that we put our best foot forward. Because after we go to all that trouble of attracting and training talent, it's pretty debilitating or disappointing when people leave.
Sure. And you have been at Indian Head now yourself for about 35 years, fair to say. This must be kind of exciting from a personal standpoint.
It is. It's obviously got some level of commitment to this, but it's interesting, quite frankly, to see some of the parallels. I mean, that old story, if you want a new idea, read an old book. I see a lot of similarities. I came here in 1987, nearing the end of the Cold War, and us facing the adversary that was the Soviet Union. I see a lot of parallels. I'm not going to make any predictions, but I see a lot of parallels to our situations now. And so it's interesting to watch that happen, and it's humbling and gratifying at the same time to be able to be a part of this renaissance and this resurgence in a facility that's one of the oldest that the Navy has It's got a rich and storied past of being able to deliver what the Navy needs, and it's getting ready to do it again.
Ashley Johnson is technical director at the Naval Surface Warfare Center